Hey friends, welcome back to another video. Today is Plantmas Day, and I'm filming at night right now, solely because I forgot that nighttime starts at 4 o'clock in the winter, and I haven't adjusted to it yet. So here we are, doing the best I can. There's some shadows going on. It's kind of a bit of a cozy, spooky vibe, which I mean is fine. And as you can see from the title, this video is going to be me reacting to 1-star reviews of some of my favorite reads of the year. And this is not my original idea. This is inspired by Ashley from Bookish Realm. Go check out her channel. I'll link her down below. Watch her video that inspired this one and also her other videos. She's a librarian. She is a booktuber. I love watching her videos. And yeah, I just thought it was a really fun idea. I already do this when I enjoy a book. I'll go through and read the lower rated reviews to figure out how in the world anyone could disagree with my opinion on a wonderful book. And I often get angry about it. I thought it might be interesting to turn that into a video. We'll see. We shall see. So, yes, I am screen recording my computer so that I can go on Goodreads and find some of my top rated books of the year, just pick some. I'm obviously not done reading for the year. I'm sure I will read more 5-star reads and maybe find some more favorites before the year's over, but obviously I can only talk about the books that I've read so far. So I'm gonna pick some random ones. We're gonna look at the lowest rated reviews, and I'm gonna share my thoughts. So hopefully this is entertaining and doesn't make me too upset. Okay, so I'm on Goodreads here, and I think I'm going to go to my 5-star reads shelf. So every time I finish a book and I rate it 5 stars, I add it to my 5-star reads shelf. If you're not following me on Goodreads, what are you doing? Click the link in the description. And I'm kind of nervous, not gonna lie. How are these sorted right now? By the date read. Let's sort them by the average rating on Goodreads, just out of curiosity. I think I'm gonna skip nonfiction for this video because a lot of the nonfiction books that I rated 5 stars are very serious subject matter. But the highest rated fiction that I gave 5 stars that I've read so far this year is Raybearer by Jordan Fueko, which I read an arc of, an audio copy from NetGalley, and I adored it. I gave it 5 stars. It is a young adult fantasy. I just found it I thought it was an incredible read. Really loved it. So let's see. Let's go to the ratings. Here, look, it's Bookish Realm. Ashley. There she is. Okay. So let's look at 1 star. There are 0% 1-star reviews. Are there no reviews? Okay, no, there are some. Okay. Oh no, there's only one. There is one 1-star review of this book that exists. That is shocking. Okay, let's read it. I'm terrified. Wish me luck. Okay. Did not finish. Stopped at 29%. I was given an advanced audio copy from the publisher via NetGalley for an honest review. Samesies. Very different reactions though. This story sounded super interesting and I was excited for it. However, I could not get into the story at all. The main character was essentially birthday of by her mother. Yes, men can be. And then she is competing to become part of the future King's Council of 11. Okay, so yes, true that the main character is the result of a union that was not consensual. That is true. In the Council of 11, no one can marry and you can only copulate with the king, but hey, as a female council member, you can birth us our future. Right. I was done with the weird cult idea and then the fact that she is just chattel to birth an heir. I'm good. I'm sure the novel would get better later on. However, this was just unfortunately disturbing to me and screaming creepy cult, and it's not something I want to continue. Okay, that's really interesting. Yeah, so there was an aspect of sort of the 11 being dedicated to the king, or sort of, you know, dedicating their lives to the service. And there was an implication that one of the 11 would likely be chosen to sort of be his partner in romantic life, as well as one of the 11, and that, you know, one of these 11 people would probably produce the next heir. But it wasn't really framed in such a way as, you know, all of these people are going to be sleeping with the king and that's kind of part of their service, unless I missed something. It just seemed like it was one of those things, you kind of dedicate your life to this person and to the service of your country or your land. And in doing that, you sort of give up the life you would have had, which potentially would have included having a life partner or, a romantic partner and having your own family. Like, that's not really in the cards anymore. So yeah, that's kind of interesting. That's not at all how I read it. It did not read at all to me as a weird cult, to say the least. It's an interesting take. I feel like earlier on, there are far fewer details about how the 11 actually work and how the system works, and you get more information as the book progresses. So maybe this was just kind of their gut reaction at the beginning, and they didn't continue with it, so they didn't see that that was not in fact the case. But that's interesting. I mean, I can't tell them that they're wrong in feeling those vibes, but I do not agree. And there are 6 other people who rated it 1 star, but they didn't leave reviews. Let's look at 2-star reviews, because there's probably a couple more. Okay, there's a couple. This is the most liked 2-star review, so let's read this one. While abundant in originality and uniqueness, I would agree, it lacked in character development and pacing. I often felt like it skipped years of the interesting bits where we learned about the characters and their surroundings and why they are who they are. Then we had numerous info dumps, and I hate that. Why info dump when you could engage the reader by letting them see it happen? I'd be interested in seeing how this author develops her craft with more experience. I have high hopes for her, even though this book was not for me. I think that's fair. I don't particularly remember info dumps in Raybearer, to be honest, though info dumps are kind of, you may disagree with me on this, but I tend to feel that info dumps are just kind of par for the course when it comes to fantasy, by nature of the fact that fantasy is, either happening in our world with significant changes or in a completely new world altogether. And this is happening, in a completely different imagined world where magic exists. And there kind of has to be some level of info dump, usually, to get the information across, as much as we may not enjoy them. Obviously, info dumps can be done in, paced out or split up in such a way or framed in such a way that they don't really read as info dumps, which is honestly how I felt Raybearer did it. I didn't really notice significant info dumps. I mean, there has to be some level of explanation of how the world works, the dynamics, whether it be a magic system or the political system. When it comes to this book, you need to understand the political setup to understand what's happening in the story. So, I mean, fair, but I disagree. I also think that the characters were super developed, so that's kind of surprising to me. I mean, it definitely focused. There was one primary character, one protagonist. There were only a few peripheral characters that were really focused on. But I felt like the characters were pretty well developed, in my opinion. Not the best character development I've ever seen in any book I've ever read, but definitely sufficient in my mind. Okay, so that's enough of criticism from my sweet baby Raybearer. So let's look at a different book. Okay, The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo is the next highest rated that I gave 5 stars. And this one was a really popular read, so I feel like it'll have a lot of ratings. Yeah, it has over 200,000. Okay, let's see. So this still has 0% 1 star when you look at the grand scheme of things, but there are a number of 1-star reviews here because there are a lot of ratings altogether. Okay, let's see. This one says worst read of 2018. So here, this is a good one. Let's get into it. For anyone who doesn't know, The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo is a historical fiction that is based around Evelyn Hugo, who is a Hollywood starlet who has a variety of husbands throughout her career for various reasons. And the story takes place when she is older and she's talking to a writer who she wants to write her biography. And she's sort of going through her life story and revealing the sort of secrets behind her husbands, why she had so many, more of the realities of her life and her career that were unclear from the outside. As I mentioned in my review for this one, I am an actor myself, and I could relate to so many of the things she was talking about in the story about the experience of being an actor and a woman and how women are treated in the entertainment industry and a lot of the expectations that unfortunately haven't changed that much from the time that she was a star to today, unfortunately. So anyway, that's what it is. It is historical fiction about a Hollywood actress. Okay, worst read of 2018. For glucose gluttons, syrupy scoops sprinkled with trite truisms. I mean, 10 points for all the alliteration, I must say. To paraphrase a quote attributed to Abe Lincoln, for those who like this kind of a book, it is just about the kind of a book they would like. I mean, I feel like that would be true for literally any book that exists. But, okay. A significant failure in my personal vetting process. Okay, that is fair. Not everyone likes the same things. I repeatedly winced or rolled my eyes at such soppy, silly prose, as implausible as, this is in quotation marks, I loved you so much that I thought you were the meaning of my life. I thought that people were put on earth to find other people, and I was put on earth to find you. To find you and touch your skin and smell your breath and hear all your thoughts. It's not implausible if you are in love and are a soppy kind of person, which, admittedly, I am. I think a lot of people tend to get soppy at times with the love of their life. It's a thing that happens, and some of us are a little more demonstrative in our love. You know, maybe your love language is words of affirmation, and this is the kind of thing you say to your loved one. Mine is physical touch, so mine's all the cuddles, but you know, you do you. And clearly, words of affirmation is not this reviewer's thing, which is fine. 7 Husbands is quite a trove of truisms, brimming over with bromides. I'm really enjoying this review just for the alliteration alone. So these are some more quotes. Some marriages aren't really that great. Some loves aren't all-encompassing. Sometimes you separate because you weren't that good together to begin with. And they add, I mean, it's true. And this book is about marriage, so it makes sense that there would be commentary on marriage as a whole, especially marriages that don't work out, because Evelyn Hugo had many. Okay, yeah, these are all things that are said. I feel like I'm missing the criticism. Like, I understand that these are things, you know, truisms or things that have been said many a time. But I feel like almost everything has been said many times over. It's not like someone is going to write a historical fiction about the entertainment business, feminism, failed marriages, coming to terms with your sexuality, etc., and that it's going to have some new commentary on life that no one has ever thought or written down before. I just don't think it's going to happen, you know? All the thoughts have been thought. And schmaltzy advice, you have to find a job that makes your heart feel big instead of one that makes it feel small. I mean, very good advice in my opinion. So if you're still on the fence, by all means, read it. Yeah, I mean, okay. I don't agree that just because something has been said that there's no value in restating it or including it as a core theme or message in a work of art. As I mentioned, I think everything has been said and will be said a million times more, especially some of the larger issues or the, you know, aspects of life that are universal, like love and loss and finding your way in the world, you know, whether you use wording that has been used many times or try to find your own unique way to phrase it, you know, it's all reiterating similar ideas in different contexts. And I think that that can bring value. And I think that this story brought a lot of value to me anyway. I don't feel like any of these quotes really touch on what I would say are the primary themes or the most important aspects of the book, which really were for me feminism in a heavily patriarchal, sexist, misogynistic time. As I mentioned, coming to terms with sexuality and navigating a world that is very opposed to anything that is not heteronormative and trying to make it within a business that holds women to such a high standard and puts them on a pedestal while continuing to treat them as objects to be objectified and, you know, items to be manipulated and owned and admired without any inherent humanity. And I don't really feel like any of these quotes that were included in the review touch on any of those things, so I disagree. Which is the whole point of this video. I'm going to disagree with probably all of the 1-star reviews. Okay, let's read one more. This is the next most liked 1-star review. Well, I never thought I'd see the day where I didn't fall in love with a TJR book, but here we are. I've actually never read any other books by this author, so I feel like I should. Let me know in the comments. Should I read another book by this author? If so, which one? Let me know. Anyway, that's off topic. Continuing. I'm sure I'll be the black sheep on this and I'll never understand why. I hated this book and I say that very, very infrequently. I hated every single character with the exception of maybe one, but even he turned out to be a huge disappointment eventually. The plot was both simplistic yet beyond difficult to believe. Contrived and cookie cutter are also words that come to mind and will only make sense if you read it. No spoilers here. One major plot point had me eye-rolling so hard I was convinced I would have a stroke. Kelly feels strongly about this. I also really disliked the main romance. I felt there was a huge double standard in how this relationship was portrayed based on the genders of the characters involved. Excuse me, Plane, I am filming a video right now. Could you not? How rude. This great love was abusive, emotionally draining, and not what love is in my opinion. While I am all for authors branching out and trying new kinds of books, this book just did not work for me in the least. Okay, I mean, I can't comment on their thoughts on the plot because they didn't specify what plot point it was that they didn't like, and I'm not going to speculate. I don't know what part of the plot did not work for them. As far as the main romance, I don't really feel it was treated differently based on the genders of the people involved in the romance. I feel like it was treated differently because it was, in fact, the primary romance. It was the romance that meant the most to our main characters. So Evelyn, Hugo, this story goes through many of her relationships. As I stated, she's had 7 husbands, some of the relationships that didn't turn into marriages. And this particular relationship is the one that stands out to her as sort of the most important, or she sees this person as the love of her life. It's portrayed differently than the others, certainly, but I feel that that is because Evelyn is the one telling this story and she feels that this was the love of her life. So regardless of whether the relationship was entirely healthy or not, which, you know, can be debated, I would agree that there are definitely aspects of their relationship, at least at certain points in their relationship, that are certainly not healthy. Most of Evelyn's relationships with literally everyone are unhealthy, and that is for many reasons, and is probably true of a lot of people who exist in the world. But just because a relationship is imperfect or unhealthy or, you know, occasionally unhealthy, doesn't mean that it can't also simultaneously be someone's great love. Obviously, I think healthy relationships are wonderful things, and I would hope that everyone would be able to have a healthy relationship with the love of their life. I don't think that happens for a lot of people. I think a lot of relationships are unhealthy in one way or another, if not in many ways, and it doesn't necessarily disqualify them from being the love of someone's life or their great love of their life. And that's just kind of, you know, how the cookie crumbles. That's life. You know, it's not always a fairy tale. I actually really appreciated the aspect of the story that showed that Evelyn was far from a perfect person and that her relationships were far from perfect and that she was just kind of struggling through her existence as much as anyone else, even though she was wealthy and famous and successful. But I can see why that would bother people, you know, because it definitely wasn't a perfect relationship. I'm going to move on. I don't think I can handle more than 2 negative reviews of any of these books. I'm gonna make myself too sad. Okay, the next one we have is The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. This was the second book I read by Madeline Miller this year. I read Circe first, and then The Song of Achilles. I gave them both 5 stars, I think. I'm pretty sure I gave Circe 5 stars. Now I don't know. 4 or 5. I'm pretty sure I gave it 5 stars. This is a historical fiction, well, fantasy. It's talking about Achilles, the legend of Achilles, who obviously was not a real person, at least not within the context of Greek mythology, you know, could have been based on a real human being, I don't know. So the Song of Achilles is historical fiction, fantasy, because it's a Greek mythology retelling, or, you know, the telling of the story of Achilles, basically. I loved it, gave it 5 stars, clearly. I thought it was beautiful. I loved the romance. I thought it was a great coming-of-age story. It is from the perspective of Patroclus, not of Achilles himself. And I really liked Patroclus, and I liked the story. Okay, so this one has over 200,000 ratings. It has 28,000 reviews, and its average rating is 4.35, so it has 1% 1-star reviews. Here is the most liked 1-star review. I don't feel ready. I feel like I need a glass of wine. Okay. I am going to disagree with the Orange Prize Committee. I am going to disagree with thousands of Goodreads reviewers. This book is crap. Well, they're not one to mince words, are they? Okay, all you trolls. Oh boy. Okay, they're ready. I didn't know I was a troll. Go ahead and tell me what a Philistine I am, how ignorant I am of Greek literature and mythology, and how my failure to appreciate this book reflects my limitations rather than those of the book. You don't really need to bother defending this book because the masses seem to agree with you. Alright. But if you ask me, this was a harlequin. Boring Patroclus is wholly infatuated with the impossibly perfect Achilles, who, even more impossibly, returns Patroclus's passion. Lots of purple prose, lots of love, daring battles, blah blah blah. I got about halfway through and decided I was finished wasting my time. I mean, I feel like it's pretty clear from the description that this is going to be a love story. So, if you're not into love stories, it certainly did not read like a harlequin romance in my opinion. I'm really not into romance. I barely ever read it as a genre. Not that there is anything wrong with it at all because, you know, lots of people love it and that's amazing. It's just not really my thing. So I feel like I would have not liked this book as much if it were in fact very harlequin romancy. But I mean, I don't have a heart of stone. I still enjoy reading about people being in love. Love is a beautiful thing. So I also disagree heartily with the idea that Achilles is impossibly perfect. He has the impression of being perfect, which fits very well within the, you know, whole myth of Achilles. But the whole idea of Achilles is that he has his Achilles heel. He does have a weakness, at least one. And in this tale, in this version of the tale, I won't tell you what Achilles heel is in the tale, but you know, it's something about him that makes him human and vulnerable and not the perfect warrior that he is meant to be. He does have this weakness. He also has other weaknesses because he's definitely not a perfect person and he has flaws. And I feel that those were pretty clearly represented in the novel. Don't treat Patroclus like this. That's so hurtful. He's not boring. Poor Patroclus. He had a tough life, okay? I really care about Patroclus. I don't have a brother, but I feel like I feel towards Patroclus how I would feel towards a little brother. Like, he just deserves all the love and support in the world. You know? Okay. Anyway, continuing. I'm fine with Patroclus and Achilles being in love, but a little complexity, please. How about some characterization? How about some relationship tension from within, not just without? They certainly had internal relationship conflict. Sorry, I'm confused because I'm also trying to remember, because I read this a long time ago, but I certainly remember there being some internal conflict as well as external conflict. And there was certainly complexity to both the story and their relationship. Anyway, I've read some glorified harlequins that managed to break my snob barrier, Outlander and Water for Elephants to name just two. I haven't read either of those. Sadly, this one didn't. Perhaps this was in part because all the accolades led me to expect something far more literary or deep. And maybe had I read the Iliad, I would be more excited by the references and more forgiving of the book's flaws. So feel free not to take my word for it, but I found this book incredibly disappointing. I haven't read the Iliad myself, so I cannot comment, nor have I read the other two books mentioned. I mean, I think it's fair to not really vibe with the way that the relationship was portrayed, and it is the sort of central relationship of the story, the central focus, that's the word I was looking for, of the story, is this relationship between Patroclus and Achilles. So if you're not really a fan of both of them, nor their relationship, you're going to not enjoy the book, and that's fair. I do think that they were both well characterized. I thought they were both complex, especially Patroclus, but Achilles as well. I found their love story really beautiful and heartbreaking, and I cried a lot, and I thought it was great. And as I mentioned, I am not into harlequin romance, and it didn't read like that at all to me. But to each their own. Okay, next one. This person, I guess, technically gave it 1.5 stars, as they clarify here. Whoa, that is a long review. Okay, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that one. It's going to take me forever to read. Okay, this one's short. This is the third most liked 1-star review. I hated pretty much everything about this. Strong opening. The only reason I didn't DNF this was because I wanted to watch them die. Ouch! Oh my god. Harsh. I was like, where is Red Priestess Melisandre when I need her most? Come, my lady, and burn them all. Through the whole book. I mean, I love the crossover between Game of Thrones and the Song of Achilles. I'd watch the shit out of that. But It's a bit much. This is very harsh. I mean, okay. I honestly don't know what to say to that. They clearly just hated it all. They wanted it to burn. So I don't know how to respond to that in a constructive way. So I'm just gonna move on to the next one. What can you say to that, really? I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. Okay, so the next is A Closed and Common Orbit by Becky Chambers. This is number 2 in the Wayfarers series. Popped a nail off. I was so shocked by that review. One sec. My heart is beating rapidly from that past review. Okay, so A Closed and Common Orbit by Becky Chambers. This is number 2 in the Wayfarers series. This is a sci-fi series. There are 3 books currently published, all of which I have read. There is a 4th book coming, which is going to be the final. They are all taking place in the same world, but they are not direct sequels. There are some characters that kind of cross over. Words. Sequence of events with the same characters. It's not that. Anyway, so this is the second one. I'm going to predict that one of the low reviews is going to be someone pointing out that it was not a continuation of the same characters and story of the first book, and that was not something that they wanted, because I feel like that's a critique that I saw a lot. That being said, I adored this second book. I honestly think that it might be my favorite out of the 3 that are currently released, even more so than the first book. I just thought it was incredible. I loved everything about it. Just under 5,000 reviews, 35,000 ratings, has 0% 1 star. I think I'm going to skip the first one. This first reviewer says that they actively hated the first book in the series, but then they continued on for some reason. So let's not. Let's go to number 2 and just see what they think. The first one was somewhat interesting, although the conversations did get inane occasionally. I did like the world building. This one had nothing but inane conversations, no story, and just mundane, repetitive daily routines. Okay. I'll finish reading it. I was kind of interested in Pepper's story, but it mired into mind-numbing boredom. Seriously, you are in an alien world, and the only thing this girl can eat is wild dog. What do the dogs eat? Why are we having to sit through a children's teaching program in detail, and why is everything talked to death in the most unimaginative, over-explaining, cringeworthy way? I hate leaving a book 60% done, but I just can't do it. I'd rather eat fried dog. Okay, maybe not. There's gotta at least be some rats. Okay, so this person DNF'd. I feel like reading low reviews when someone DNF'd a book is, it's kind of hard. I try not to review books that I DNF just because I still don't have the context for what happened at the end. So it feels like I can't really give it a fair rating because I don't have the whole picture, but that's just me. I disagree that there's no plot. There certainly is a plot. It definitely is a more character-driven story, as all of the books in the Wayfarer series are. Clearly, this person is not a fan of the more character-driven, slow, dialogue-heavy sorts of stories that are based on relationships, which is definitely what these books are. I love that aspect of these books, personally. I thought Pepper's story was incredibly heartbreaking and definitely the most interesting part of the book as a whole. I'm pretty sure they explained why she needed to eat wild dogs specifically. It makes sense within the context of the book that that was what was available. I feel like this is just a situation where this style of book just does not work for this reviewer, and that's fair. I mean, some people are much more into fast-paced, plot-driven stories, while others prefer slower, character-focused stories. I personally can enjoy both, but I certainly lean on the side of enjoying a character-driven, character-focused story. That's how I sort of find my way into connecting to books for the most part. And I found the characters that were created in this story very intriguing. I felt very connected to them. I felt very protective over them, just like I did in the first book. So yeah, I feel like that's just a fundamental difference in how different people read books and what it is that they look for in the books that they read. I didn't think any of it was mundane or boring, but I found the exploration of the characters fascinating, personally, and I was into it. Okay, let's read one more. This one's super short. Childish, mediocre, simplistic. To enjoy this kind of stuff is fine. To raise it above better written, more substantial novels is irrational. Okay. Just because a story has a happy ending and focuses on positive themes. I mean, this book had a lot of dark themes in it, or dark things happen, but still, just because a story tries to be more uplifting and hopeful doesn't make it childlike. And I certainly don't think it was simplistic. It focused in on the stories it was telling. It didn't try to do too much, which I feel is a big issue in sci-fi. I think a lot of sci-fi tries to tell too many different stories all at once, and it kind of muddies the waters and takes away from character development, which is something that these books do very well. And I feel like that's really patronizing, whoever wrote this review, to say that it's fine to enjoy this kind of stuff, but it's irrational to raise it above better written, more substantial novels. What does that even mean? Everyone has different preferences. I personally enjoy wholesome sci-fi and character-driven sci-fi. That's why I love Star Trek so much, especially the earlier 4 seasons. The utopic vision of a future working together for the benefit of society and the universe as a whole. I like that. I think it's very interesting. I think you can explore a lot of themes that way. I don't think sci-fi has to be synonymous with action or thriller, which I think a lot of sci-fi has become. Not to say that there's anything wrong with that, and I do enjoy certain sci-fi that is kind of within the action or thriller genres as well, and I think that can be done very well. And some of my 5-star reads from this year are sci-fis that kind of fit into those genres as well. But to call it this kind of stuff, just because it's a style of sci-fi that maybe isn't to your taste, feels patronizing. It's certainly not the best written book to exist. There are better written novels in existence, certainly. I don't think there was anything wrong with the writing of this novel. I don't think that the writing itself is the selling point for these stories, though I enjoy the writing personally. But not everyone wants to read a book that is, you know, just the best written, deep, substantial tome. That's not necessarily always what we're going to be looking for, even if you occasionally enjoy reading books like that, which I do. But, you know, there is room for many different types of novels in the world to be enjoyed, and people are allowed to rate them 5 stars if they want to, including myself, as I did. Okay, I'm starting to get tired as well. How long is this video? How long have I been recording for? Let's check. It's been, oh god. Okay, I've been recording for 45 minutes, so, okay. I was gonna keep going, but even when I cut this down, it's going to be probably a long video, I would imagine. So I'm going to stop. There are far more 5-star books here that I could do this with. If you like this video, give it a like. Let me know. If you want me to do another one like this with more of my favorite books from 2020, let me know. I'd be happy to do it. This was definitely a little stressful, not going to lie, but also kind of enjoyable in a masochistic way, sort of. Anyway, so that was a thing that I did. This was a video I made. I feel a little worked up. I feel like I need to go back and read 5-star reviews of all of those books to regain my equilibrium. I hope you enjoyed this video. As I said, give it a like if you liked it. If you want to see more videos like this in the future, let me know, because there is much potential. If you like my super high pony on the top of my head, let me know. For no particular reason, but just, you know. Anyway, I'm gonna get going because it's late and it's dark and I am feeling a kind of way. So thanks for enjoying my pain by watching this video. I hope it was entertaining, and I hope you're enjoying the Plantmas videos this year, because I'm enjoying making them. Alright, I will see you tomorrow in our next Plantmas video. See you then. Bye, friends. That was just rude. Like, what? Why are people so mean? I feel like I should do a version of this video where I read my own 1-star reviews, because I feel like I can be pretty harsh sometimes too. You know when you finish a book and you just are so unhappy with it and you just feel like you wasted so much effort and time in reading it that you just feel angry at the world? You know? It's a thing. It happens.